Competitive Hearthstone is a bit of a different beast than standard play or ranked ladder Hearthstone. While anyone can participate in a competitive Hearthstone arena, to be successful it requires an in-depth understanding of matchups, tech cards, creating well-rounded lineups, as well as the endurance to play multiple games at a time. Join me while I start 2021 with no knowledge of competitive Hearthstone and see how I improve throughout the year. Becoming a Grandmaster is obviously an unrealistic expectation. I will play in both qualifiers and grassroots tournaments to monitor my improvements throughout the year, as well as aim for higher and higher end season ranks on ladder. My name is Sam, and this is Getting Competitive in Hearthstone. What is going on, everybody? We are back with episode number 7, I believe, Getting Competitive in Hearthstone. And there haven't been many episodes because I really haven't been playing in competitive tournaments or grassroots. 3 weeks ago, when I played in a qualifier, I just lost round 1. And the match wasn't interesting. My opponent, to be honest, wasn't very friendly. I didn't feel like I learned anything, and there wasn't really anything to just say about it. So we kind of just set that one aside. And I felt a little burnt out from playing so much, at least once a week. I was just like, we'll just take off the last week before the Masters Tour, and then we'll come back. But in that, I found Dreamhack. Now, if you don't know what Dreamhack is like a community event that has a tournament aspect to it. It used to have connections to Hearthstone esports, but because Hearthstone esports started doing qualifiers the way they're doing it, Dreamhack didn't really mean anything, and players were now playing in qualifiers more than Dreamhack, so they had to kind of put Dreamhack on hiatus. But Bemi, a personality within the competitive Hearthstone community, has kind of begun to bring it back, and they've started hosting tournaments. The week I played in was their second week. I'll be playing in their third week also. But there were some differences between this and qualifiers. And the first one that was there were only 25 people as opposed to several hundred people, which means these are very, very good players. They are consistent players and people who have aspiration in playing competitively. And it's also a best of 5, which means you have 4 decks and it's one band, so you play with 3 decks rather than 2. Qualifiers is best of 3 with 2 decks. So there's a lot more thought that goes into crafting your lineup. And I'm really excited to talk about the 4 decks I brought and show you the games, because the quality of players was higher. It forced me to go to a place where I feel like I have played the best Hearthstone I have played. So we are going to get into the decks here in a second. Before we do, I want to remind you guys to leave a like and subscribe. It supports the channel a ton, and I love making this kind of content. Also, starting the 23rd, we're going to have what's called Super Week, where we're just do a whole bunch of stuff leading up to Forged and the Barons coming out the 30th. I'll be dropping the schedule for that soon, so stay tuned. Without further ado, let's get into the decks. So the first list I brought was Guardian Animals Druid. I'm not going to go as in-depth as I would usually do for a deck explanation, like a gameplay guide on the channel. Just going to talk about some of the cards in here. We have that flex spot for Emerald Drake, which could be a second overflow or a Gidra. Since playing in this in Dreamhack, I have swapped this out for Gidra. I just feel it's been working for me better. But the main draw of this deck is the Guardian Animals, which always pulls either a Moonfang, a Lake Thresher, which is a board clear, or draw in Twilight Runner. We also have Ysera Unleashed to just fill your board with dragons. Survival of the Fittest. Just be aware of this. A good time to use Survival of the Fittest is after a Ysera turn to just buff the dragons you just played. Sometimes that in and of itself can end the game. Aside from that, we have cards that benefit from us playing big spells like Strongman and Anubisoth Defender. And we have ways to ramp up to those big spells with Overgrowth and Breath of Dreams, which gets activated by Dreaming Drake, and Emerald Explorer, which is why it's in the deck, as well as Ysera. And then we have Mana Cheat and Innervate and Lightning Bloom. And if we ever fall back behind on board, we have Animated Broomstick after those Ysera turns, or if we just need to tempo out a minion to catch up, Animated Broomstick's really good with that. This deck I feel is being slept on in favor of Highlander Druid. I was talking to my buddy Nice Jewish Owl about this, and he said it's doing really well in THL, in other grassroots tournaments, and he agrees that players are not playing this deck and they're focusing too much on greedier decks. This is a bit of a high roll deck, but it's much more consistent now than it used to be. I will be bringing this next week with the Gidra instead of the Explorer, and I'm really excited to see how it does. We'll bring a Whirlkick. Whirlkick is just such a good deck. It's just, you put your 30 cards that are all good in the deck, and then you just cheat out your opponent. We don't need to go over this too much. This deck has not changed. I do want to talk about some key cards, though. Nitro Boost Poison instead of Brain Freeze. This just makes your weapon better. It deals with... It buffs your minions on board so they can fight for board. It's just much better than Nitro Boost. It's something to be aware of. It feels like a combo card because it costs so little, but you cannot Foxy Fraud out the Nitro Boost Poison, so be aware of that. One thing you can do, though, is if you Secret Passage, if you corrupt the Nitro Boost, it will stay in your hand as a corrupted Nitro Boost. Prep is just really good, too. Prep can guarantee the corruption of the Nitro Boost. Just so good. This deck really works because of Whirlkick Master, though. About 80% of the combo cards, I would say, are just such high-quality cards that you can just pop off with this card and never feel too bad. There are some times when you get like a Kidnapper or Apothecary that you're just, well, that was just bad. But 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, it just feels really good to play. But the card I want to talk about, we've cut Edwin because he's very slow for Flick Skyshiv. Flick Skyshiv, this is more for players who may not know this interaction, but if you're playing against like an OTK Demon Hunter, playing Flick on them with their Moarg as they play out to survive, just wins you that game basically. Aside from that, it also deals with wide boards from Clown minions, which aren't really played, but also Gibberling and Token Druid it's really good into. And you can often find ways to make this card just work really well in your favor. And you're also just likely to generate an Edwin off of Whirlkick Master. This deck is really good. It's just such a good deck. Probably one of the best in the meta right now, if not the best. So because we've seen a lot of these decks for a while, I'm not going to go too much into them, but Galakrond Warlock, I brought this because it does punish those slower, greedier decks. If you look at the last Master Tour meta, it's a lot of Highlander, a lot of Priest, a lot of Silas Warrior, and this deck does really well into those. There is 2 flex spots in this deck in the Lucky Soul Hoarder package. You don't necessarily need them. If they get corrupted, they're much worse into the late game because Yashiraj will force you to draw a card if you play them. So we swapped those out for Sacrificial Pack, which actually in this upcoming Dreamhack I've swapped out for Shadow Hunter Vuljin. And I swapped that out because Vuljin's really good into fast combo decks like OTK Demon Hunter and Mozaki Mage, where Ticketus is a little slow, so it can't grind out those matches. And Death Warden, who is good into Libroom and Rattlegore. You could play an Owl if you want to instead. Aside from that, we run the obvious cards, the Galakrond package. We have Galakrond, Kronks, the neutral Invoke cards, and Dragonblight Cultist. Early game board clears with Hysteria, School Spirits, Dark Skies, Soul Shear. We have Healing with Armor Vendor, additional with Sacrificial Pack. Plague of Flames is just a nutty card, and we can beat these grindy control decks with cards like Ticketus and get more benefit from it with Yashiraj. All around, very good deck into the tournament meta. I've seen a lot of people even playing a more control-y version of this deck where you trade out the tempo of the Galakrond package for just more control tools. I'm much more confident with this deck in the meta, tournament meta, than I am on ladder. So be aware if you're trying to play this on ladder. And the last deck I brought was Bomb Warrior. There are so many good warriors right now. Silas OTK Warrior. I've seen ETC Warrior in the Masters Tour lineups. In Rage Warrior and Bomb Warrior. This deck hasn't changed from the Vicious Syndicate. It obviously runs the Bomb package in Wrench Caliber. Early game survivability with Minefield, Blade Storm, Barov, Weapon Resurrection, I guess is what you call it, with Horde Pillager, almost call it Loot Hoarder. We have Brawl for board clears, and we have ways to buff our weapon with Dr. Krasnov and Upgrade, and if we do that, it benefits our cutting class, and we can close the game out with Blastmaster Boom. Galakrond, the Unbreakable, is in here for the Priest matchups. priest, you would just keep eventually transition to just continually attacking the priest with the hero power. But Wrench Caliber shuts off the opponent's Highlander deck, so it's really good to beat up on those greedy Highlander decks, especially Druid and Mage. It's just a very controlling deck. This lineup was a little weak into aggro, but I think in a 4-set, 4-lineup tournament, I was talking to my buddy Nice Jewish Owl, and he said that aggro is a little less common in that because you have to kind of direct your lineup in a certain direction, and this lineup that beats up on greedy decks felt really good to bring, and I'm refining a little bit for next week. So we will get into the games, guys. I will see you over there for a voiceover. Take it easy. Alright, so if this is your first rodeo, just so you know, because if we didn't do that, the games would be really, really long. I also haven't watched this back since I first played, so I apologize if I do pause a little bit just to think about the plays. But the first match here, as you saw, is Whirlkick Rogue versus ETC Warrior, which has been kind of making a bit of a comeback in the Masters Tour meta, the competitive meta, in favor of Silas, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's because you don't need to have armor to kill the opponent. Maybe they both work similar. I don't know. But we kept the Pharaoh Cat in our hand on turn 1 because we're going to use it to combo with Wand Thief. Nice Jewish Owl is a great dude. He's the one I'm playing against right now. He's been helping me with some lineups. Also, for the future, he's kind of like my Owl version of Ron Mexico. But we're going to take out the Potion of Illusion just to get some value. I actually don't think playing this questing is the best move. Don't quite know why I did that, but if it snowballs, it's really good. There's a shield block, and he follows up with a shield slam. I should have seen that coming. But here we go. Hit him in the face a little bit. Play another Pharaoh Cat. Get some value. It's not great value. We will swindle and draw 2. And we're just going to hold our Wand Thief, for our Whirlkick. Hopefully pop off. They steal our they steal our weapon. It's not a big deal. Nice Jewish Owl was running a ton of weapon hates. And because we know this is a long game, we are going to take the Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron and then safely Shadow Step the Wand Thief back to our hand. You could have made an argument there, and I probably should have. I probably should have played the Foxy Fraud to get some extra value on board. So we'll see if we can utilize that later. This Flick is pretty useless. I like Flick in this deck more than Edwin. It's pretty good in other matchups. And we're just going to play a big old temple play right there of a 7-5. It's a pile of stats. It summons a 1-1. But he's running Shadow Hunter Vol'jin in most of his decks for disruption. Really good into OTK Demon Hunter, and we got there. Luckily, it's not the worst minion we can get. And we do have a full board, so we do have to kill off some stuff first. Luckily. So there's a misplay there. I probably should have played the Rush minion, the Rush Lackey, in some capacity. We definitely sequenced that wrong, but we have a board. It's threatening. There's some... I wouldn't say it's super threatening, but there's a bunch of damage on board. And there's a Rattlegore, which we are not equipped to deal with a Rattlegore. But we are able to deal with it, thankfully. And you'll see during this turn. We're going to Whirlkick into Secret Passage and hope for something. My thought here is we are looking for a Wand Thief to get some value. If we get a second Wand Thief, this is not a polymorph. We will Shadow Step the Wand Thief we just played. And unfortunately, some animation time kind of messes us up here. But we'll play another Wand Thief, digging for that polymorph, and we get it. You don't get to see it there, but because it's 2x speed, but there was some delay between the game and what I wanted to do, so that's why I ran out of time there, which is unfortunate because it worked out to our advantage. And Nice Jewish Owl is going to play Skipper into double Armorsmith, which will heal him up a ton. And we also burn the Questing Adventure. One thing I have to learn about this deck, figure out better, is how to manage hand size a little better. But our goal here is to get out our Edwin. Unfortunately, right now, this is the best it can do because we don't have anything that's going to cost less than 2. So we could just play Edwin. I don't think that's the right play. I think we should have played SI here. But 8/8s are still big, so... But that is one of our last threats. We still have a Whirlkick and Jandis, but we burned... One of our questings is dead, and our second questing got burned. So maybe playing Edwin there was not the right play. And there's a Bulwark of Azzinoth, which he will swing with. It makes it a little easier to deal with, fortunately. Especially with the weapon. But we'll just play more stats on board. Shoot Lackey's really good because it deals with the Bulwark of Azzinoth. But they get a Lord Bear off here. Draw some cards, and then are able to... Oh, they don't do it again. Never mind. That would be dumb on my part, right? So we will burn away this Bulwark. That was a bit of a misplay. We probably should have... There was a different way to do what we were doing that would have dealt 1 extra damage. And I was thinking maybe we clear the bear off, but it also clears most of our board. But also giving them the trade allows them to do that. I was hoping for a better mini than a 3/12. There's a Sticky Finger, unfortunately, and that bear off will go face. So now we do want to kill off this bear off so we can play our Jandis. And we are in a pretty decent position. These aren't great, so we picked the weaker of the 2. I could have gone into Eviscerate there. I think there's little ways we are chipping away damage, and this is going to close out the game, unfortunately. In the moment, I didn't quite actualize that this was ETC, so having minions on board did make that bit of an issue, but also having a 3/12 that just dies was also a bit of an issue. But we also don't win this game unless we have minions to put pressure on, so it's kind of a catch-22 at that point. But he's going to take game 1. Second game is Libroom Paladin versus Guardian Druid. I do feel pretty confident in this matchup. Because the deck is a little slower, I was thinking about keeping Guardian Animals. I did not, obviously. This is a bit of a better hand. It's not great, but it is better. That Emerald Explorer will turn on Breath of Dreams if we draw it, and we take Runic Carvings there to get back on board if we need to, and we draw back in the Guardian Animals. So we're in a good spot, especially on turn 6. We can just go into it. There's no need to rush, though. And we're going to Nature Studies here. Dig for something that's hopefully ramp. We get Innervate, which is kind of like ramp light. And I was thinking, oh, we got to kill that. And I'm like, no, we can just kill it with our face. I was thinking of taking a spell that did that, but there was no need to. What I'm going to do here is just play out the Twilight Runner for draw. I was thinking about bringing up the Rush Totems, but that overloads me, and it only leaves me with a 2/2. It's admittedly not very good. There are a few lines we can do here. We could just play the Drake. We could play the Rush Totems. We could also just ramp into Guardian Animals. I'm going to actually just go into Drake here so I can go cleanly into Guardian Animals without overloading. And we're going to take Nozdormu because it's kind of cheeky, and it messes with their Penfinger turns quite a bit. So the plan here is to next turn, because of studies, just play Guardian Animals, and then the turn after, bloom into Survival of the Fittest. Getting Wandmaker off first day of school seems illegal. I can't believe that is a thing that is allowed to happen. But we will Guardian Animals here. No Lake Thresher, unfortunately. It was a 1 in 3 that we get it. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. Isn't much else we can do here besides take some trades. Or we could leave our Twilight Runners up. We're going to trade off one of them. There's a second Survival. And I'm not going to attack with the second one. We don't need to draw anymore. We have a good hand. And I want to keep our board a little healthy because we know Penflingers exist. And it's just not great. Plus, having a 9/5 seems really good next turn. Yep, Devout Pupil comes down. Devout Pupil is a great card. All the ramp is in our hand right now. All the gain mana crystals this turn is just here. There's a few ways we can do this. We can... Past Sam is thinking outside the box here. So, I kind of forgot about this. Again, I did this a little bit ago. The idea here is that we can either rush in and like that, and then leave stuff on board, because we will have enough the ability to ramp up next turn into Survival of the Fittest, which will create a pretty good board. But Penflinger is a card that is going to do some work to our board, unfortunately. I really hope that card gets hit with a nerf, because I am just kind of over that card, if I'm being honest. But he leaves up 6 worth of stats on the board. And I can play this Anubis Soth Defender for free, and then we get to go face for 12. I think you probably could have said go face for 18 there, but we are setting up lethal right now, which is phenomenal. I think right there the right play was go face. In retrospect, that's what we should be doing. But we also have follow-up. It's not like we're left in the water next turn. There's the Libroom, which with 2 Penfingers and a swing will clear a lot of this board. Which kind of sucks, but... Being at 12, yep. Oh, I guess Lake Thresher was a hand earlier, so I guess we couldn't have gotten that. But, I mean, even though... So that was Order Lull. We should have played the Thresher first to Corrupt, and then had a 9-10. That seemed pretty good. They definitely are... Nice Jewish Owl is definitely telling me that he has a Libroom of Hope to heal. Yep. There it is. And admittedly, if we did have that, we corrupted it correctly, we would have had the clear there. But unfortunately we didn't, so we have to live with that mistake. Like I said in the intro, one thing I do like about this game is as this match goes on, he, playing against Nice Jewish Owl, will force me to play at a bit of a higher level than I'm used to, and took me to kind of a place that I haven't quite been to before. He sets up really well here for my cleave effects. That Broom was really clutch though, and we do have the Nas Dormo on board to hopefully prevent the Penfinger turns, but he has the Silas, and that's gonna end this game for us, unfortunately. Can't really do much. All the beasts are out of our deck. We're gonna hero power and just concede. We can't do too much from there. We could have played Ysera, but we're dead on board, so that's unfortunate. The next game is Galakrond Warlock versus Druid. This is not a matchup that I think is favored for us. I think that Galakrond has a ton of board clears, so it does make this difficult for us. We do get into the studies with Overgrowth, which is awesome. And they have a slow start, so that's good for us. We cannot innervate into Growth here. That will turn off the discount on Growth, because it's the next spell, not the next spell that costs mana. But we can just get the Breath of Dreams and draw a card. I think that is the better play, to draw instead of Overgrowth. We can always Overgrowth next turn. It's no big deal. And they're just playing the Veiled Worshipper for tempo. I can do a few things here. I can contest that. I could kill it with Swipe, or I could go into an Overgrowth. I don't know if Moonfang is the right play there, but it forces them to deal with it. And I believe they deal with it with Plague of Flames, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, that's actually good for us now, because we still keep our... I can't talk. Our minion stays alive, and we get the Twilight Runner. And that's a really good draw. So we can go into... that next turn, I guess. I had to watch that again. Like, what am I doing? We're keeping our board healthy, and we're playing a 5/6. That seems better. Dark Skies will clear, unfortunately, and they'll tap. So we don't need to Guardian Animals now. The board's not threatening. We can just play the Emerald Explorer, and draw a card. None of these are the best because of board clears. Plague of Flames just clears a lot, so the evasive effect from Draconoid isn't amazing. So he is playing that definitely to corrupt Ticketus, which is fine. We have a survival. No, we don't have a survival system. We have guardian animals, and we have most of the beasts in our hand anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And Ticketus probably actually isn't terrible. And they're going to Plague of Flames anyway, so they don't get to that turn. So we can do a few things here. We can guard the animals. Like it's going to pull us a Lake Thresher. We're going to save this Overgrowth on the left, it looks like, for just a card draw. We're going to play Moonfang. We're going to play the Drake. And then we are going to rush them. A better play there might have just been to play Lake Thresher that way, but Lake Thresher wouldn't have cleared, so I guess this was fine. Also, there's a Silas, and they are unfortunately going to take our Moonfang, which sucks. That's rude. But we can Guardian Animals get a free 4/6, which is fine. It's not amazing, but it does take off the minions on their board, which is good for us. And they can't play Silas anymore, so that's good too. And there's a Kronks. I believe they're just going to clear the board here. That's just what they did. Play some more Imps and pass. We need some cards, so we're going to Twilight Runner and Broom. There's the Ysera Unleashed, so we are no longer that concerned about Ticketus that right now. I'm just kind of digging for a survival of the fittest at this point, so once we get a board full of dragons, Ysera can do something. Burning the Strongman sucks, the Guardian Males doesn't matter, and all in all, aside from the Strongman, which we do like because it's a 0 mana 10/10 often, we did pretty well. So we're just going to drop the Ysera here and fill our deck with dragons. We are kind of behind the 8-ball though. They are very far ahead, and they are going to play the second Ticketus, unfortunately, which burns our second Strongman, 2 portals, 3 portals, but we draw a portal here. We do not have any brooms, so that's important to realize. But there's the second Survival of the Fittest, which we're going to play right now. There really is no reason not to play that second Survival of the Fittest. We need to kind of go all in here. Sorry, not the second. The first one. We have in here and try to close this game out in some way. Sociologist Militia does kind of suck. That will help clear out their board. I don't know if they can fully clear this, and if they do let us play Zeraku, we can get some more dragons with Zeraku, like that. And luckily the dragons we got were taunts, so they do protect us. I am thinking here, do we trade or do we go face? And I think at this point we need to go face to close this game out, because if they clear the board, we're just dead anyway, so there's no point in trading. We're out of cards. But I think we do end up going face. Nope, we end up going with a trade. I think that could have gone either way. I know I was just saying we need to probably protect, get their life total low. And I think they're digging for a Plague of Flames here, which thankfully they do not get. But they also do not win this game because we have 27 damage on board. That was a close one, but it got us back in and made sure we didn't get swept. And this next game, Galakrond Warlock versus Whirlkick Rogue, we're going to get some redemption, I hope. I mean, I know what happened. I was there, but got to keep it in suspense. I do just send him a little bit of a nice message because I am having a ton of fun with this. I feel like this is the best Hearthstone I've ever played. Looking back, we obviously realized mistakes and what we could have done better, but that's neither here nor there. I think we probably should have played the Foxy Fraud into the Wand Thief, but I mean, it sets up for this backstab very, very well. Yo, pass Sam. The heck, dude? I don't know what pass Sam was doing there, but it didn't seem correct. Yeah, like, pass Sam. What the heck? I'm thinking of what we need here. Discounting spells in our deck is pretty cool, but we really need some card draw. We need better cards in our hand. I don't know why we didn't play that Wand Maker sooner though. That seemed incorrect. And I mean, all things considered, they're left with a 1/1, and I can clear out the 1/1. I'm gonna draw 2 cards first. Miscreant's great, but I'm gonna play out the Wand Maker here. I think for a second about Deck of Lunacy. Admittedly, that is not the right play. We do not take Deck of Lunacy here. If Past Sam took Deck of Lunacy, I'm not responsible for that. Thank goodness. We clear out their board. The Rigged Fair Game is just really nice to have. And them playing the Galakrond Minion does allow us to set up with a combo for Miscreant, but we're going to Secret Passage, I guess. Again, Past Sam, not quite sure what you're doing, but I guess we're going to go in here with a pretty big Questing Adventurer, which is good, but Plague of Flames is a card, and it seems mildly incorrect. And we'll take the Discover. I don't know. That term seemed weird. I think there were plays we could have done that didn't involve us wasting a Secret Passage. I guess I didn't pilot this as well as I thought I did. And they're going to tap into a Dark Skies. Questing Adventure always gets cleared, man. It never survives. The Flick is fine. It doesn't do too much. I misread what I pick here, because I think, oh, we should pick Sand Sculptor, Dune Sculptor, and it's going to give us mage spells. It gives you mage minions, and it doesn't put them in play. It's not as good as I thought it was, admittedly. Crab Rider is actually really good here. We can buff it and then swing twice. We probably should have buffed the Miscreant. The outcome would have still been the same, but Crab Rider does put more pressure on. So in my head here, we're about to go off with this Dune Sculptor, and then I realized it added stuff to my hand. But getting Shenvala here is really, really good. It did put us in a bit of an awkward situation. We don't have a lot that we can do now without burning. I do see Nitro Boost we can play, which I think is the right play if I don't do that. Guess I didn't do that. Nitro Boost would have been fine there, but luckily we're never punished with the Pharaoh Cats. And I guess I do kind of want to save that for a Shenvala turn, which we can do pretty well right now, especially with that preparation, man. So we're going to go into preparation. That Shadow Step is also great. We don't need to play the Whirlkick, but I guess I'm thinking we can kind of pop off a little bit and hopefully get some good combo cards. Which, I mean, we do. It sets us up for future turns. We could have also Secret Passage into some stuff. I think there were a lot of lines there that we could have done that we didn't. But, I mean, having Shenvala make cards is pretty good. Sociologist into trade into Plague of Flames. So they are trying to hit the 2-5, which they did, unfortunately. But we're going to try and Whirlkick again and do some nonsense. And we're just going to get burned and send damage face. That Kidnapper is not a great card. It's one of the worst ones to get out of the pool. And then we can draw 2 and unfortunately burn Jandis. That was dumb. We need to learn how to count correctly in these instances. Ticketus burns a lot of our cards. Actually, it burns our whole deck, unfortunately. So we are relying on the ability to dig and find damage. What am I... Oh, I'm trying to kill this with the Horde Pillager. I mean, not the Horde Pillager, the Prize Plunderer. Which I did. And we don't get the combos we're looking for, but we do set them to 6 and develop tempo. Again, we have to go all in here. Burning that Jandis sucks. And this Rigged Fair game was a bit of a mistake. It did allow us to get the Prize Plunderers up, and this will clear out the game. And this last match is Bomb Warrior versus Galakrond Warlock. And remember I said that Nice Jewish Owl put a ton of weapon hate in his lineup? Well, this match really shows how hard he did. We are going to try and play our best. I think that if this deck, the Galakrond Warlock, doesn't play as much weapon hate. I think we're favored, but the weapon hate, especially Sticky Fingers, which you'll see in a bit, just makes it a hard matchup. So we're just kind of waiting to get the Wrench Caliber online. And we're just going to go into it, hope he does not have the coin, which he will have into Sticky Finger. If we had coin, we could have gone into it on 3 and hopefully done something with it. But he steals the weapon. And we're just kind of going to figure out what to do. We can clear with Minefield here and just kind of try to control the board for a bit. But now the Warlock here is going to try and put on as much pressure as he can. And I'm going to have to deal with it as it comes. The Brawl doesn't matter. We're not going to use our board clears here. It is going to make it difficult. Again, any time he can get some pressure on. Now, I should play the Wrench Caliber here, but I'm thinking let's get Galakrond online so we can keep pushing damage. It really is going to be an uphill battle, though. But look at that board, man. Like that is a wide board that I'm going to have to brawl here. So we're going to brawl, try and clear out as much as we can. Unfortunately, leave a taunt up. We cannot clear this with a clean Minefield. We could have upgraded there and hit, then Minefielded. And the idea, what I'm thinking right now, and it's like my big Galaxy Brain play, is to play the upgrade weapon and then start going face as best we can. It's not that good a play. He's going to be able to put on much more pressure than we want to deal with. And just be able to take out my threats. He can create more tempo. And there's another bomb. And there's the Galakrond, which has a bunch of demons right there. Luckily, Deathwing does clear this out. Not well. Deathwing can clear this, though. Then Minefield will clear up the rest, thankfully. I mean, we can push 5 here. Oh, no, we can't because we use the Minefield. It's just such an uphill battle at this point. It's so hard. We probably should have played the bomb like 5 turns ago. But there's the Kronk's Dragon Hoof. Just pushing damage, setting me to 14. Iron Beak Owl isn't going to do much. The Horde Pillager sucks. We have to go in with the bomb weapon here and just either trade or go face. Try to put bombs in the deck. He draws one of them, so he's finally below 30. But he's going to go face for hit me, send me to 8, and take my stick again. And then send it back to hand in case I get a third. And then I draw the bomb. And unfortunately, we really can't do too much. We'll trade into the 1-1. And this game will be done. That was a tough match. Very good game, though.